Hey, peace and blessings to your family. Shalom, shalom to you. This is your brother Ronald Zion, and you're locked inside of the Shame Free Life channel. But just do me three huge favors if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And right beside the channel is a bell. If you click that bell, you will get instant notification whenever I do go live or whenever I upload a video, just like today. And also, if you can, if this video or any videos within the Shame Free Life archives have been a blessing to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. I'm from the school of thought whenever I get something and it's life changing, it's challenging, maybe it confronts me in certain areas of my life. Not only do I want to apply it, but I also want to share it. So just share it. So let's get right into it. I was looking in the scripture, and when I log off, and when this video is already uploaded, I'm going back and I'm going to dig deeper into this particular scripture that has me captivated. And I've heard it over and over again, taught from it over and over again, but I'm in a different season in my life right now, just like you. And sometimes those scriptures that we read over and over again at a particular place in time, it's like the neon lights are blinking. It's like the words jump off the page and it just strikes you in such a way to where, my God, I read that 50 times. I mean, but right now, man, I'm getting something out of this for me. And that's how I feel right now. And I want to share that with you. In Mark chapter 10, we see the story or the account of blind Bartimaeus. Now, we've heard this many times before, preached, taught. I mean, people even sung about blind Bartimaeus. Um, Jesus was in Jericho, right? And Yeshua was leaving out. When I interchange Jesus and Yeshua, so just flow with me. We're still talking about the same person. So Yeshua was leaving out of Jericho. Now there was a crowd that was there. I mean, multitudes of people that were there to witness the signs, to witness the wonders, to witness the dead being raised, bodies being healed, demons being cast out, etc., etc. And people were there themselves to be a recipient of the healing and deliverance, bringing loved ones and family and friends that they can be healed as well and set free by the power of the Most High Yah. And so we see that as Jesus, Yeshua, was on his way out of Jericho, there was a man named Bartimaeus who was blind, who was on the road as all of the pandemonium was taking place. He was begging, but he was blind, didn't have sight, didn't have vision. You know, sometimes if you don't have vision, if you don't have sight, and not just literally, but I mean spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically, it will cause you to beg. You will be in a deficit. And so here's this man, blind and begging by the road, but when he heard that Yeshua was in the place, getting ready to leave, Bartimaeus was in desperation. He could not allow this moment to escape him without doing something that was unthinkable. He yelled out to the rabbi, who was Jesus, Yeshua, Yeshua, son of David, have mercy upon me. And everybody around him told him to shut up. Listen, don't yell out like that. Be quiet. But he yelled out all the more in defiance because of his desperation, because of his need. And he refused to miss this moment in time that was for him. He believed it. That's why he acted on it. So as I begin to look at the name Bartimaeus, the name Bartimaeus, Bar means son or son of. And of course, that's the entryway to the name, which is Timaeus. Now, there's two definitions to the word or the name Bartimaeus. It means honorable, but it also means unclean. I'm going to let that just marinate for a minute. His name was a twofold definition: honorable and unclean, honorable and dishonorable, honorable and an abomination, pure and impure. And so when he yelled out, the word says that Yeshua stopped dead in his tracks, told the disciples, tell him to come here. The disciples went to the blind man, Bartimaeus, and said, hey, listen, Rabboni, Yeshua was calling for you. He wants to see you right now. Out of all of the hundreds, thousands, or 10,000s of people that were there, that were calling on the name of Yeshua, that were there in dire straits, that were there, they were paralyzed, maimed, lame, blind, deaf, could not speak, demon possessed, calling out for the teacher, the Messiah, the Master, Yeshua. It was one voice out of thousands that caught the attention and the ear of Yeshua, so much so that he stopped dead in his tracks of leaving out of town. That is a blessing. That when you can get God's attention, when you can get Yahweh's attention in such a profound way, whereas there could be a mother who was a single mother in Compton, California, and she's praying that she won't lose her job. There's a father who's taking care of his children the best way he knows how. And he's on the brink of going back to sell drugs to put food on his children's table because time and time again, doors are slammed in his face and he's calling out to the Most High. There's someone that's calling out to God because they just lost a loved one and they're in bereavement and grieving and they're calling out for strength and for help. But for you to get the attention of God, even in the midst, not that he's neglecting anyone else, but that you have his attention in this particular timeline is really amazing. When blind Bartimaeus came to Yeshua, Yeshua asked him a rhetorical question. Many people would say that's a ridiculous question. What do you want me to do for you? Hold up, Yeshua. You can't see that I'm blind? Bartimaeus said, I want to be able to regain my sight. So which means that he wasn't born blind, but something happened in the life of blind Bartimaeus that injured him. Something happened in the life of blind Bartimaeus that extinguished his vision. You know, the word says that without a vision, the people perish. And here this man was begging. He was literally dying. He was spiritually, emotionally, psychologically perishing because of his lack of vision. Now, at one time he had vision, but I wonder what happened to Bartimaeus. I wonder what happened in your life, my life, you know, if we can keep it a buck. What happened that made us lose our vision? What happened? What injury? What trauma occurred in our lives that was so devastating, that was so unexpected, that was so violent that it put out our vision? You once may had a vision, aspiring higher things for yourself, saw yourself going far beyond where you are right now, but something happened in your life. It was so devastating that it extinguished your vision. Well, that's what blind Bartimaeus was. He says, I want to regain my vision. I had it once, but I want it again because where I am right now is not normal for me. And so Yeshua said, it is as you say, your faith have made you whole. So I want to talk to you about the name, the shame, and the fame. The name, the shame, and the fame. So here is Bartimaeus. After he regained his sight, the word says that immediately he began to follow the Messiah, the name, the shame, and the fame. As I said, his name had a twofold definition, honorable and dishonorable. How many of you can truly relate to blind Bartimaeus? I know I can. That there's something honorable about you. There is something that's so real and so raw and so transparent. There's something that's so pure about you. There's something that's just so innocent about you. There's something so good about you. But on the flip side of that, just like blind Bartimaeus, Bartimaeus means son of Timaeus or son of the unclean. There is something in the past. There may be something in your present that is unclean. There is something that's in your past that's broken. There's something that's in your present that's dishonorable. And even though that is a reality, it's almost like the dichotomy. How in the world can you tell me that I'm good yet I'm bad? I'm honorable, but I'm dishonorable. See, it's something about a name that is attached to an identity. See, this is the reason why oftentimes we got to be careful in how we name our children. You know, naming your children Mercedes. Okay, well, what does that mean? If anybody named Mercedes, I'm not banging on your name. I mean, just naming ourselves after certain things, after certain people, certain actors and movie stars and, singers and rappers and etc. What does that mean? Because behind that name or attached to that name is an identity. And here is blind Bartimaeus, who had an identity that was attached to his name that was not good. And oftentimes, when in Hebrew culture, when you are a leopard, when you are have an abnormality, you have a deficit, a physical deficit, then they label you as that. How many people right now you have been labeled something because of what you went through, labeled with something because of what you have experienced, labeled with something, an identity, because that's who you were at that time until you came into the knowledge of who you are right now. And so even in the midst of Bartimaeus having this duality of definitions, honorable yet dishonorable and unclean, he still said, you know what? Everybody else says that I shouldn't even be here. Everybody else don't even want me around. No one else around me believes in me. But Yeshua, I'm not going to allow you to leave out of my sphere. I'm not going to allow you to leave out of this country, out of this region, out of this territory without me going into desperation mode and screaming out your name. Yeshua, Rabboni, come here. I need you. When we get real and raw with the Most High, that's when we stop him dead in his tracks. I'm not talking about all this religious stuff. See, I ain't a religious person. Well, Zion, I thought you was called to minister. I am. But I'm not the religious type that's caught up in formalities and that's mindless. And even Yeshua told the Pharisees, he says that your religion, he says, it makes the word of God non-effect. The Most High is so moved. He stops everything and shuts everything down when we can get real and raw wherever you are. If you're in a place of blindness today, if you're in a place where you can't even hear the Father no more, if you're in a place that trauma have beaten you all the way down until you forgot your identity. You have taken on another identity. Maybe you have taken on the identity of being a drug dealer, of being a hoe. Maybe you have taken on the identity of just being a scoundrel. Maybe you have taken on the identity of just being defeated, of just accepting whatever happens in life. Well, that's just how it's supposed to be. And if it's God's will, then I will be blessed. If it's God's will, then I come out of poverty. If it's God's will, then He will do something in my life to move me beyond the stigma. Perhaps you have been attached to a stigma of former incarceration. Perhaps you may be attached to a stigma of being a junkie, of being a crackhead, of being a basehead, of being a stripper, of being just a low life. And everybody else around is telling you to be quiet. You know, there's money and there is so much profitability in dealing with people's dysfunction. Oftentimes people don't want you to get healed. They don't want your vision to be restored. They don't want you now to get healed from the inside of the trauma and the abandonment and the neglect because they profit from it. And if I can keep it a buck, and you know Ronald Zion will do just that, I salute all of the pastors out there, all of the men and the women of Yah that are out there that are keeping it 100 and love God's people. But there are also some pastors out there that benefit from your dysfunction. As long as you need them instead of God, they're fine because you will give them your time, you will give them your money, you will give them your resources, you will give them your attention, you will give them your praise. Now that is idolatry. And again, there's big business in keeping folk in a place of dysfunction because as long as you are needy and as long as you are dysfunctional, then I can keep you in that place and I can sell you a hope and a dream that will never come to pass because you're looking unto me instead of looking unto the Father. My God. We're still talking about the name, the shame, and the fame. So there was so much attached to the name of Bartimaeus that just evoked so much shame that people didn't want him around, that people didn't even believe in him. How much shame are you going through with your family, with your loved ones, with your children? How much shame have you endured that's attached to your name that everybody else remember you by? Won't nobody remember the honorable you, but they will remember the dishonorable you. Nobody remembers the pure you, but they will always remember the impure you, or so they think. They always look at the decadence of your past as rather than looking at how you are blossoming in your present, which points to a bright future. We're still talking about the name, the shame, and the fame. But when we get to a place when we can stop the Most High in its tracks, not being religious, not being involved in so much churchianity, but when we can get real with the Most High, that's when we have his attention and he was healed. I want to encourage you today. That's what this is, the name, the shame, and the fame, because the fame of blind Bartimaeus being immediately healed, he began to now start following Yeshua, the healer. So now the one who benefited from the healing is following the healer, and now he's nothing more than a walking billboard of what God has done for me. So now everybody around, family, friends, frenemies, so-called families, all of the above, remembered Bartimaeus, the duality of his name, honorable but dishonorable and unclean. Those who held very tight and embraced the unclean parts of him, the failures concerning Bartimaeus, dropping the ball, missing the mark, most likely not to succeed, that part of Bartimaeus. When they see him, or when they saw him rather, following Yeshua with now his eyes wide open, he has regained his sight that was lost because of a traumatic injury. They had to know that this was nothing but the power of the Most High God Yahweh. So I want to encourage you. Now, that was his fame. He was a walking testimony. Hey, Bartimaeus, hey, come in. Hey, man, let me talk to you, man. What happened to you? Now, the same ones that talked about you like a dog behind your back, the same ones that scandalized your name, the same one that called you unclean and called you unworthy, the same ones that dogged you out, treated you like a backstreet dog, treated you, just worse than a doormat. Now, all of a sudden, want to know how you regain your sight, regain your finances, regain your righteous mind, regain your purpose, regain your family, regain your health, both physically, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. Everything that you lost, like Job, now you have regained it. And more so because now it points to listen, it was not by might nor by power, and it sure wasn't by you and your fake prayers. It was by Yeshua HaMashiach. It was by Yahweh himself through his son Yeshua that all of this happened. That is the fame. And not a fame that we can claim, but a fame that highlights the one who did it. The name, the shame, and the fame. And finally, just like the Most High changed the very name, the identification of Jacob, whose name also meant trickster and con man. As the old folks say, flim flammer. Now, when they see Jacob, his name is Israel, means peace and blessed. And that's how the Most High sees you. And that's how he sees me. And now it's time for us to see the same by regaining what was lost, our vision, the name, the shame, and the fame. Listen, follow us and see the wonderful things that we're doing on the website. It's right behind it, theshamefreelife.com. We specialize in trauma recovery coaching, and we all go through certain things in our lives, and sometimes we just don't want to talk about it, but it affects us. And sometimes we know that we're at a place, I need help, but who can I trust? I want to go to certain people, but they may put my business in the street. Or I don't even believe in myself no more. Well, you've reached the right place. We can help you walk out your freedom and help you to rebuild your life one brick at a time. That's the shamefreelife.com, trauma recovery coaching, and we're in the business to make certain that you live out your life purpose without shame. So until next time, as I always say, and I will continue to say, that regardless of what has happened to you that have caused you to lose your vision, your life begins when you say So, salute. Love you to life.